Imagine you are sitting in a dimly lit room. Across from you, on a simple wooden table, someone slowly places two pills. This isn't a trick or a threat. It's a choice. A choice between continuing to see the world as it has always appeared to you, or choosing to finally see the machinery that quietly operates behind it. One pill allows you to return to comfort, to the familiar system where money just works. You earn it, you deposit it, you swipe your card. You rarely, if ever, have to question how it comes into existence or who decides how much of it there will be tomorrow. The other pill, it doesn't promise profit or rebellion. Instead, it forces you to look, to examine how money is truly created, who controls its supply, how policy decisions made in faraway boardrooms can ripple through your life, and what happens when the trust holding it all together is stretched beyond its limits. In the world of Bitcoin, choosing to see that underlying structure, that's what people call getting orange pilled. Getting orange pilled has very little to do with price charts, or social media hype, or any kind of ideological flag waving. It is about understanding that the money we use every day operates within a framework built on discretion and institutional authority. Central banks expand and contract the supply. They adjust interest rates. They respond to crises using complex tools that most of us never directly influence. And while that system has, for decades, enabled incredible economic growth and stability, it has also required our ongoing collective trust. Trust that those managing it will act prudently, predictably, and in our best interest. When someone starts to pull on that thread, when they begin studying monetary history, from the gold standard to the global transition into fiat systems, from devastating inflationary periods to massive debt driven expansions, they start to recognize a fundamental truth. Money isn't a static, natural thing like a rock or a tree. It is managed. And management, by its very nature, requires judgment. And judgment, inevitably, introduces flexibility and uncertainty. Bitcoin proposes an entirely different structure. It doesn't do this by attacking the existing system, but simply by presenting an alternative set of rules, fixed rules that operate independently of any policy discretion. The total supply is permanently capped at 21 million coins. New issuance follows a predictable, unchangeable schedule that is embedded directly in the code. And that schedule cannot be altered without a massive, near impossible consensus from the entire network. So instead of relying on institutional trust, on faith in a committee, Bitcoin relies on transparent mathematical verification. Thousands of independent nodes all over the world validate every transaction and every block, ensuring the rules are followed. And the entire digital ledger is anchored to the physical world through a process called proof of work, which requires immense amounts of real world energy. This makes it extraordinarily difficult to alter history, to change the ledger, without expending a staggering amount of resources. When someone truly understands this, that the monetary policy is enforced not by people, but by code, and that ownership can be secured directly through private keys without needing a bank or any other custodian. The shift they experience is less emotional than it is structural. They are no longer asking whether Bitcoin's price will rise next week. They are asking a much deeper question. Could a system of fixed enforceable rules offer a different, perhaps more resilient kind of long-term stability? The orange pill moment is when money is no longer just numbers in an account. It's when you perceive it as a system, a technology governed by trade-offs. Bitcoin makes a very specific set of trade-offs. It sacrifices speed and flexibility to preserve decentralization and absolute predictability. At that point, an individual has to decide for themselves whether those trade-offs align with their own values. What do you prioritize? Maximum security, unwavering resistance to censorship, the integrity of your money over a long time horizon. It doesn't require you to reject traditional finance, and it certainly doesn't demand certainty about the future. But it does change how you evaluate control, trust, and transparency in every financial system you interact with. Because once you recognize that money can exist as a protocol with immutable supply rules, rather than just as a policy instrument that is constantly subject to adjustment, you can't fully return to viewing it as a simple, neutral backdrop to your life. You've seen the machinery. That is the orange pill. Not rebellion, not speculation, but understanding. And once that understanding settles in, whether you ultimately embrace Bitcoin or remain skeptical of it, the way you see money, authority, and the very structure of our economy is permanently altered. If this helped, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment with what we should break down next. Stay curious and keep learning. Imagine you are